Zer Leonis seems destined to become a poster boy for the Empire. His sister, Dara, has been accepted into the esteemed Imperial Academy on Lothal, and Zer is confident he'll join her in a year's time. But a year can bring plenty of unwelcome changes. Not only does he begin to uncover the Empire's destructive plans for Lothal and the livelihood of its people, but his unease hits home when Dara mysteriously goes missing. Zer is forced to question everything and rethink what it means to be a good servant of the Empire.
Hello, younglings, and welcome back to the Padawan Library, the galaxy's only Star Wars junior novel podcast. I'm Levi Peretic. With me is Tim May.
Hello, everyone.
And this week, after a month-long absence from Star Wars books, we are returning to a Star Wars property, finally.
Even our non-Star Wars opening is at least vaguely related to Star Wars. I mean, it is. I guess it's directly, but it's, not really about Star Wars.
Right. We're starting a new series.
Yes.
This will be the next 4 weeks of the show. Servants of the Empire, written by Jason Fry. And book one, we're talking about today, Edge of the Galaxy. So we'll get into that later. But talking about From the Edge, we got to talk about something at the beginning that's not inherently Star Wars related, but related to the title of our book. We're talking about the 1990 Mike Nichols movie,
Mike Nichols, you clown! Oh my
sorry.
God!
Oh, don't yell at me. It's early. It's 9 a.m.
Mike Nichols? We're talking about Mike. This is Mike Nichols. This isn't some obscure scrub that we're talking about.
I'm aware.
Okay.
I've only seen 3 of his movies, including this one. We watch Postcards from the Edge,
which is based on the fictionalized memoir of Carrie Fisher, of course.
Right, and she wrote the screenplay too.
Also,
so, yep.
So
she did.
Mike Nichols, for the listeners who might have thought his name was Mike Nicholas, also, there
might be a Mike Nicholas.
I'm sure there's a Mike Nicholas. He doesn't matter. He's not an important person. Mike Nichols, a legendary film and theater director, as well as, classic comedy team, him and Elaine May, Nichols and May, invented modern improv comedy, basically. Like, a major American figure, I'm just saying. Okay, so anyway, he directed, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, The Graduate, Catch-22, Carnal Knowledge, Heartburn, Silkwood, this movie, The Birdcage.
One of the 3 I've seen.
Sure.
So I want to, but looking at his Wikipedia last night, I want to see Wolf, his Jack Nicholson werewolf movie.
A delight, I would say.
I want to see that.
Yeah, Wolf.
I do have one other anecdote about this person, Mike Nichols.
This person, God, you are being disrespectful.
I said his name right that time. His second marriage was to Diane Sawyer, famous ABC News correspondent.
I believe actually his third or fourth marriage, but yes.
Okay.
The marriage she was in for the longest till he died, yes.
Yes, in 2014, R.I.P. But funny anecdote about Diane Sawyer. My grandfather had a huge crush on Diane Sawyer, and he once told me, I was visiting him at the nursing home, and 2020 was on, and he goes, "Oh, that Diane Sawyer, she's a looker. She could put her slippers under my bed any night.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Pretty jealous of Mike, then, I guess. And Nichols is one of these guys who, like, kind of lives and dies by material in a lot of ways. Like, if he has a great piece of material, he can make a great movie out of it. But he's not a writer, director, or anything. And obviously his greatest, movie is probably The Graduate, one of the great movies of all time. This movie, based on a fictionalized memoir, officially a novel, by Carrie Fisher, about her relationship with her mother, primarily. Debbie Reynolds, of course. And so this movie, I saw this movie many years ago, and I rewatched it this morning. And I think it stars Meryl. This cast is obscenely stacked.
This cast is insane.
Like, there are people who are in one scene that you're just, or two scenes that you're just like, why is Richard Dreyfuss only in two scenes? Like, or like Gene Hackman's in two. Well, I guess he's in three scenes technically. But like,
I want to talk. We should talk about that the second Gene Hackman
an
scene,
incredible
because
scene.
like incredible performance.
Yeah, Gene. I love Gene Hackman, but anyway. So this kind of it is a more fictionalized version. I think it's kind of like Carrie Fisher with Meryl Streep's career is kind of the vibe. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Bit.
Like, because like by this time, Carrie Fisher was primarily a script doctor, worked on movies, like was acting, but in supporting parts, like not so much a lead actor.
Yeah.
So by the time this movie comes out in 1990, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, like, she seems to be the star of all these movies, and she hadn't really starred in a movie in a while at the time.
Right.
Like, been the lead, I should say.
And the character doesn't have, like, a Star Wars-like vehicle that seems to follow her around. However, they keep mentioning movie titles, and the one that made me laugh every time was a movie she supposedly starred in called Public Domain.
Public Domain, great title. But a great fake movie title. Anyway, so it has a bunch of people. Shirley MacLaine plays the Debbie Reynolds character, which is incredible casting, just, because she's a Hollywood legend and all that stuff. I wish her brother Warren would have shown up at some point. I love Warren Beatty. So.
I know you do love Warren. You love
Although Warren's wife, Annette Bening, also in this movie. So just an insanely stacked cast.
Harry Truman from Twin Peaks shows up in two scenes.
Yes.
He's got a big part in it. One of the Aretha. She was one of the moms in Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves. Do you remember the direct-to-video scene?
Yes.
Honey, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
reckon.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I didn't even realize that movie was direct-to-video until like last year. By the way, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, because it was so heavily marketed at the time that I never saw it. Like I loved the first movie, but I never. Yeah. I don't think I've even seen the second one where he blew up the kid. Fun. But regardless, I remember that third one that was apparently direct-to-video was so heavily marketed when it came out that I just assumed it was a theatrical sequel. And then last year I found out it was direct-to-video, and I was in shock. Levi.
I remember that one being like good too. Like it probably could have been a theatrical.
They're kind of fun movies. I like those movies. The first one, especially. I've only really I maybe have seen the second one when I was a kid, but I really have no memory of it. But the first movie is a delight. I just rewatched it last year. It's a wonderful movie. Anyway, Joe Johnston directed that, so another Star Wars connection. There we go.
Isn't he directing the new one too?
He is. Joe Johnston coming back
with
for
Josh Gad.
And
Rick.
Rick's also in it.
Rick's coming back too. Rick came out of retirement. He wouldn't do it for Ghostbusters, but he'll do it for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It's his, Ghostbusters, like there's 3 or 4 people you think of before you think of Rick, I guess.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. And who wants to be in a serious Ghostbusters movie? I'm whatever. Anyway, I guess Dan Aykroyd. So that connects back to Carrie Fisher. So there we go.
Yep.
It's all
according to her. He never stopped loving her. He was always in love with her. Never got over her.
Okay, here's an actual fun question. What do you think the best movie she was ever in that wasn't Star Wars? I think there's 2 clear options for me, but. She's not the star of either of these movies, by the way, but they're both great.
You thinking Blues Brothers?
Blues Brothers, which I just love, a masterpiece, so fucking good, and she's great,
incredible.
And I don't know if have you seen Shampoo, the Hal Ashby, Warren Beatty?
No, I haven't.
She has a very small part in that, but she's awesome in it. That's pre-Star Wars, actually.
Well,
So.
talking about our Austin Powers Power Hour podcast, her
She's
family
amazing.
therapy scene in Austin Powers 1 is so funny.
I love that scene. She's really funny in Soap Dish. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Mm-mm.
That's a good movie. I mean, it has some, 90s comedy stuff where you're like, oh man, I can't believe wow, this is rough, you know what I'm saying? But it's a fun movie for the most part. And When Harry Met Sally, I forgot about that. That's easily the best movie. That or Blues Brothers, but she has a bigger role in When Harry Met Sally, so I feel like that's a. Anyway, speaking of When Harry Met Sally, Rob Reiner also in this movie.
Shows up
one scene. For one scene. I mean, that's what he does, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah, and then
his scene in Wolf of Wall Street is iconic, where he's watching The Equalizer on TV. Just like, it's Equalizer night, or whatever.
The director of the cop movie she's making, he shows up, I don't know his name, but he shows up in Amadeus, and he's also in, he's the main villain of Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls.
Speaking of movies...
he's also in Phantom of the Opera, the musical, like the Frank Lloyd Webber movie adaptation with Gerard Butler.
Andrew Lloyd Webber, not Frank Lloyd Wright. Making movies. Those are the same guy.
Frank Lloyd Webber.
All right. Just like I think there is something just about. I was watching this movie and I was like, this movie would be made like as an independent film now, and not. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to take shots at independent films or anything, but I was just like, just seeing a movie that's this kind of low stakes. It's mostly just she has to go to rehab because she was like a nightmare on a movie set. Because of her coke addiction, and then she has to, have a few shouting matches with her mother. It's a very low key movie. Just to see a movie this low key get like a big budget, where it's like I can tell they spent fucking money on this. You know what I'm saying?
I think I saw that the budget was somewhere around like $25 million.
Yeah, in 1990, so like around probably like a $40 to $50 million budget. Now I'm just like, I just wish they still spent real money on movies on this scale. I guess that was my biggest takeaway. Honestly, I think it's a very Streep is incredible in this movie because she's kind of playing so many different things, because there's all the scenes, movie scenes where she's supposed to be bad, there are just little oscillations in how that is very impressive, because you get the idea it's this person is a good actress, but she's in a slump, but also she's playing a real person, so those scenes she has to be actually good. So it's very impressive, and it's also by far my favorite singing Streep ever.
Yeah, this is the second movie we've got singing Streep.
Well, obviously better
Third
than
movie, actually.
Mamma Mia. She's not very good in those movies singing wise. I mean, I enjoy her presence, of course, as you know. But but then the other one that I do love is Ricky and the Flash, the Jonathan Demme movie, where she sings the Springsteen song at the end, "My Love Will Not Take You Down," which is just all time. Let you down, take you down. My love will not let you down. One of my favorite Springsteen songs. A great outtake from Tracks, from the Tracks box set. Check it out. And so, what am I? I'm just spewing words.
Well, I'm gonna spew something too. The song her mother, the song her mother sings. I think it's "I'll Be Here" or "I'll Be There."
I'm still here.
I'm still here. Is oh crap? What's the name of the musical? I had to look this up. Oh man, damn it! Now I look like a fool because I'm not ready.
You're not a fool. You're fine. You're doing great, Levi.
Oh, thank you. It's from the musical. Hang on, the image needs to load. Oh crap.
What could it be? What could it be?
What could it be? My internet is so bad it won't load.
All right.
Hang on. Mel's yelling it at me. What is it? Oh, it's from Follies.
Okay.
Follies.
I've never seen Follies. That's kind of a review show, right? With lots.
Yeah. It's by the same guy who did. Oh crap! Now I can't. Oh, what is it? Into the Woods. And
Oh,
what was that
Sondheim,
one we
yeah,
watched?
it's Sondheim.
Yeah, and then what was the one we watched the making of, like the recording, the making
Oh, Company?
of the original Broadway Company? Yeah,
That documentary is incredible.
that was really good.
Oh, man,
I've never
Sondheim
seen
is
Company, but
amazing at that.
that documentary is great. But the original Broadway recording of this song is sung by Yvonne De Carlo, who is Lily Munster in the Munsters.
Oh,
so.
shit.
Yeah.
You mentioned Into the Woods. I should tell a quick story here.
I'll tell a quick story about that. Mel was in Into the Woods.
Oh, who'd
she
she
played
play?
the witch in high school.
Oh, the witch, nice.
Yeah,
Well-
the Meryl Streep role.
Oh, she's not good in that movie. I'm not a fan of the Into the Woods movie, but I love Into the Woods. And our local community theater, the Erie Playhouse, was doing an outdoor Into the Woods production for the last few weeks, and I had tickets, and we went on a Thursday night, and halfway through Act 1, it starts raining, so they have to shut the production down. And it was good, by the way, very good. And then they just, like, basically, they were like, well, we'll come back, the rain date is next Monday, and we're like, oh, that's great, that actually works for us schedule-wise. And then they were like, actually, because so many of these performances have been rained out, we're moving it inside. And so they're into the theater. It's like, okay, and it's just like, and we're not having the rain date makeups. And I was like, but if you need to change, like, so you get this Sunday matinee, and I couldn't do the Sunday matinee, and like, so they were like, if you need to transfer your tickets to another show, I was like, fine. I was like, well, I can do Sunday night. Can you do that? And then they just said, oh, actually, we can't, and they just refunded my tickets without even asking if I wanted a refund, because I could have tried to make Sunday afternoon work. It was a disaster, but I will continue to support the local theater. I'm not.
That you have to support.
And it was a good
theater,
production.
so.
It was a good production. I only got to see the first half of Act 1, you know, which is probably all that. Disney ever wanted to make that movie for anyway, so because they're just like, God damn it, they fucked up Act 2 so bad. Anyway, Postcards from the Edge, a good movie. I don't think quite a great movie. How do you feel?
No, I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd.
It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. I mentioned, like, I wish they spent this kind of money on movies this kind of low key, but on the other hand, it is also a pretty low-key movie. Like, it has a couple, like, moments where, like, I think the Gene Hackman scene, the second Gene Hackman scene, is incredible.
The Gene Hackman scene, because, like, he is such an asshole in the first one, because he's mad at her.
You think you really hate him at first, but then, like, the more you see her, you're like, I get why he would be pushed at this point.
And then when he shows up in the second time around, in the second scene, you're like afraid of him because
doing,
like, what's he going to do?
They're doing ADR basically. She's shooting. It's like the last day of shooting in the beginning of the movie, and she's like going off to. She's not giving a good performance. She's going off to her trailer to do coke, and like he like blows up at her. Is just like, you fucking suck. You're like not like.
He says he'll kill her. Yeah, he's like, if you ruin my movie, I'll fucking kill you.
And then later on in the movie, after she's been to rehab and a bunch of stuff, she has to come back and do ADR for that movie. And yeah, you're seeing her, you're like, oh shit, because she's been through some stuff, and you're like, oh, like, I don't know about this guy, but then he's like, it's like clear that it's like, he like, they are actually friends, like they have a real relationship, and he was being tough on her as a friend, you know what I mean? So like, it's an interesting dynamic. Those two scenes back to back are really interesting to watch, because the rest of the movie is also about how shitty the industry is and how shitty some people are and all that stuff. So you're like, like I wonder, like what is this, like you just assume that guy's a cipher for that, as opposed to like, actually no, this is a person that she has like a real relationship with, and like, so it's interesting. It's interesting.
It's actually like the big emotional moment in the movie, because like, all this time her mother's like trying to pry from her, like, what's wrong, like why are you doing this, what's the drug obsession, and then but like when she's with Gene, she like breaks down and she's just like, I'm living my life, but I don't feel my life. I have everything.
What is that line he has, and then she has an incredible line? It's like they both have like they talk about it being like movie dialogue, but Like,
Yeah.
But it was so good. Like, his line, like, he like, gives this great speech, and then she's like, "Did you just come up with that?" And he's just like, "Well, if you'd come when you were supposed to a half hour from now, it would have been even better. I would have had time to work on it." This is a great line. And I love Gene Hackman. I just rewatched The Firm. Have you seen The Firm with Tom Cruise?
No, I haven't.
That movie is insane, but Gene Hackman is so fucking good in that movie. Like, I was just like, I'm Hackman of, like, all those guys, like, he's the one I miss the most. It's like, I feel like he would just, it's always, he was always, it made every movie he's in better, in my opinion. And then Dreyfuss is the crazier one to be, because he's barely in the movie. Like,
he is
barely. He has the scene, cause he's the doctor who, like, pumps her stomach because she ODs at the beginning. And then he shows up again briefly at the end after her mother runs into a tree because she's driving drunk. And, like, so, and then he asks her out, and it's like, oh, that might be a nice thing. And I mean, that's clearly based on, because I know Carrie Fisher married a doctor.
Yeah,
right?
I
that's like
think
her
that's
daughter,
I think that
like Billy Lord.
Yeah.
I think is it, her. That's.
I know that story is like I remember reading that story in Wishful Drinking, so I think that's like a true story there. Oh, and then Dennis Quaid's in this movie for a couple scenes.
Oh,
we haven't mentioned Quaid yet.
Yeah, he just plays like an asshole who like fucks around a bunch, like
total asshole.
Yeah, just a cad, a cad, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
has anybody told you smell like the Caribbean? Is that what he said?
Like Catalina,
Catalina, that's it. Yeah.
This movie is just stacked with actors. Like, you're like, damn, everybody is in this. I mean, everybody wanted to work with Mike Nichols. Obviously, Carrie Fisher also basically knew everybody. Like, so like, there's and Rob Reiner, I'm sure was returning the favor because she's in When Harry Met Sally the previous year. So it's like it's a fun like it's a great snapshot. And again, if a movie like this came out now, people would be freaking the fuck out because it's like, this is just like so like well crafted and just professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so like,
I know.
It drives me insane because like in 1990 even, which it's not necessarily a peak year for cinema or whatever. In 1990, this is a very good B+, like, good job. I'm glad I saw it. But like now, it would be a fucking masterpiece. People would, because it's just like you just don't see studio productions that give a fuck at all. Like, I don't know, it drives me insane.
Well, speaking of studio productions that don't give a fuck at all, we should talk about a movie that everybody is talking about.
A movie that did just come out in theaters. I saw it on. You watched it on HBO Max, which is fair.
Yes,
I saw it on Monday in the theater. We're talking, of course, about Space Jam: A New Legacy. Before,
I don't want to go super.
We don't need to go that deep, but I just. Because I don't want to go too deep on it, really.
I want to talk about my greatest problem with this movie.
Let me just say in general.
Okay.
I don't know if we've ever mentioned the original Space Jam on this show. That movie sucks, and if you like it, you're a goddamn nostalgia clown who needs to chill the fuck out. That movie is quite bad, and is frankly at least as bad as this new one. That's all I'll say.
I say it's better than this new one.
No,
but what I'll say about Space Jam is, like, when we were kids growing up, Looney Tunes, the old Chuck Jones cartoons, were still on television. Nickelodeon played the Chuck Jones cartoons.
Yes.
So it's like, I feel like as children, we had Looney Tunes in our life. We knew who the Looney Tunes were. We knew what the Looney Tunes were all about. And then, the reason I think Space Jam is such in our zeitgeist, in our age demographic, is because Space Jam was, like, our Looney Tunes. Like, it was the big Looney Tunes thing that was produced for our generation. We already knew the Looney Tunes. We knew all about the Looney Tunes. And then Space Jam comes, which I think does a little more justice for the Looney Tunes than this new movie.
I very much disagree on that.
But let's not go into that. Let's just talk about the new movie.
Okay. Let me just say, first of all, I think the Looney Tunes in the original movie, this is my whole line on that movie has always been that it's a great movie for people who don't give a shit about the Looney Tunes and don't give a shit about basketball, because it's a surface level terrible version of both. Now, I do not.
I would say that about this new movie too. So.
Let me talk. The Looney Tunes stuff in this movie is not good. Let me put that out there. But I will also say there has not been good Looney Tunes material since the 60s. at the latest, maybe, and really the 50s probably. Looney Tunes is a dead property. There are not good Looney Tunes things after the original guys were done with it, basically.
Roger Rabbit.
Well,
Roger Rabbit
is not really Looney Tunes. Yes, they have some stuff in there. That's a totally different thing. I'm sorry. That's postmodern shit. Don't get me started. This movie, I'll say, compared directly to the original Space Jam. I'm not saying this is good Looney Tunes material, but it is much closer in spirit to the actual Looney Tunes stuff in the movie. I'm not. Besides the one that everybody talks about, which is the notorious PIG, that's very 96.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Matrix scene.
Well, Granny sucks. Granny's a 90s bullshit character that I don't care about. Okay, so let me just... I just want to say this. This new movie is quite poor. It's very bad. I just think that my frustration with the reaction to it is that people are pretending as though the original is not equally cynical and equally terrible. That's my problem. It's not that I'm defending the new one. It's that the original is also fucking horrible. And I want people to just acknowledge that. If they can acknowledge that, then I don't care. We can talk shit. There's plenty to talk shit about in this movie. But I also think, I think the Looney Tunes material specifically, I should say, I just think, first of all, I think there's more the actual physical stuff is I think a little better executed. I think the stretch where it's fully animated is the best part of the movie.
I agree with that,
and that is where the Looney Tunes dominate. And as far as on the basketball end of things, the listeners know I love LeBron. He's one of my guys.
This movie, though.
He's whatever. He's not that good. He's better than Jordan was in the first one. Jordan was terrible in the first one.
I'll tell you an observation Mel made about this movie, and she's completely right about it, is this movie is Hook. It is the same plot as, he goes in there...
my dad is
but
distant.
Distant dad, he's all serious, but then he's got to learn to play.
My favorite thing about this... And we haven't gotten to the most ridiculous things about this movie, but LeBron. This is LeBron's movie family that is at least in terms of the makeup, 2 sons, young daughter, the same as his regular family. Although I don't think it's an autobiographical film or anything.
I don't know. That opening scene and montage were pretty.
Oh, the montage was awesome. If you're a fan of LeBron, that's a great montage. That's the only part I like. But the opening montage from the original is the only good part of that movie too. Really, where he's just man, Jordan rules. It's a great Jordan commercial. This is a great LeBron commercial. That part of it. As far as, he is LeBron. The problem with this movie and what it does with LeBron is that it asks him, who I think LeBron's a more natural screen presence than Jordan. I think that's undeniable, and I think he's mostly fine when he's playing comedy, but he's playing the straight man primarily here, and he's also being asked to carry lots of emotional weight, which he struggles with. I am admitting that.
Yeah, he feels like he's carrying that weight the entire movie, and it's just holding him down.
Yeah.
Because
I think it was smart. The smart decision was to have, I think, roughly 40% of the movie where he's just fully animated, I thought was a smart idea. Because I think
I think so too.
That stuff is and I actually think that was maybe an idea they should have used in the first movie, but...
Because that's where, Jordan really struggles when he gets to the animated verse, is because, he is the only live-action thing going on at that time, and,
the thing that really grinds my gears about this movie, though, because I don't want to sound like I'm defending it, because I'm not. It's fucking terrible. But I just... The thing that makes me mad about it the most is all the thing I liked the most was the performance of Don Cheadle as Algae Rhythm.
Okay.
He was pretty funny. He
was over the top.
The performance
was wild.
The performance was fun. The character is a bunch of nonsense. The problem is that because the algorithm is treated as the villain, however, it's this lampshading thing that I hate in comedy, when it's in a lot of modern comedy where it's well, we're doing all this like hacky formula shit. But like if we point out that we're doing it, then it's okay that we're doing it. No, it's not. Like there are ways to do a parody where it works, but like if they had just, for example, done that scene where they're pitching LeBron on the like him being inserted into movies or whatever, and he's like, that idea sucks, and then the movie went in a totally different direction, then that's a funny scene. But the problem is, the movie is also going to ultimately be about him teaming up with the Looney Tunes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so it can't be funny. LeBron actually plays that scene pretty well, comedically, or is just like, this idea is straight up bad. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Like it got a laugh out of me, but it's like, but it's a cheap laugh because you know that they're then going to just proceed to make that movie.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Just like,
and like,
it drives me insane.
And when, like, he does get inserted into the movies, like, it is so hacky, and, like, I wish they had done more with it. Especially that, well, first off, poor Casablanca didn't need that done to it.
Yeah,
but totally disrespectful.
And by the way, let's put Fury Road and The Matrix on that list too. Those are also great movies.
I
Austin
agree.
Powers 2 is the only movie where I'm like, I feel okay about you defiling Austin Powers.
I know, because it was really fun. It was the only one that really worked. It was really funny that it worked. Yeah.
I was
like,
shocked when they started being like, I wonder, like, did they have to like get permission from George Miller or Lana Wachowski?
Yeah,
or like,
exactly.
Like,
when Mel and I were watching it, I looked at her and I said, "Does George Miller know about this?" Like,
yeah.
Because like the fact that Wile E. Coyote does the whole witness me thing and paints his like mouth silver is insane. I mean, he's totally crazy.
I'm just like. I also was like, are these like LeBron's favorite movies? I know LeBron probably didn't write this, but I'm just like, I like to think like, is LeBron just like really into Fury Road? Like, anyway.
Because like, I think they could have done, like with the Matrix scene, it would have been better had they done more of like an original, like they could have had scenes from the Matrix, but done more new original stuff with
also,
like LeBron.
Like opening scene of the Matrix. I don't think there's anything that's ever been more parodied in any movie. Like,
I know, right?
Like literally the Trinity scene in the Matrix at the beginning is so like every like scary movie. I'm just going like
I know
so many times.
I looked at Mel and I said, "What year is it that we are still doing?"
I mean, they want to remind people of the Matrix parodies because there's a new Matrix movie coming out. I guess maybe that's it.
And this is totally stupid. But like, I hate that this movie like sort of like winks that Space Jam 1 exists, but doesn't like outright acknowledge that Space Jam 1 exists.
It acknowledges it basically. I think that's.
But like LeBron seems to have no knowledge.
Yeah, which he would know about it. Like,
yeah, there's no way he wouldn't know about Space Jam. Which like that's like part of the idea that like they should have like also too when the Monstars show up. Like, for their 2-second cameo, I swear is like an animation cell straight from the original movie. Like, they didn't even bother to reanimate the Monstars at all.
This is not a primary subject of the show. I want to say one thing about the basketball stuff.
I didn't even see any basketball stuff because the crowd was... Okay.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm not talking about the basketball scene itself. Whatever. It was cartoon nonsense basketball. Whatever. I'm not making criticisms of the realism of the basketball. I just want to say I wish there was more basketball material in the movie, like more like because you got the guys that like you got Anthony Davis and Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Diana Taurasi, and another WNBA player that I'm blanking on, but like they play like the evil team, like they like, and it's like you just get one very brief scene with them in a gym. And then, like, it's just their animated characters the rest of the time. Like, it was frustrating. I was like, I wish this felt more present in the NBA world. Which, that is the one area in which the first one definitely has a decided advantage, in my opinion. Although, even that, like... Again, that movie, I hate that movie.
All those NBA players having their essence stolen is so funny.
Oh, in the first one, yeah. Well, they got like, I mean, Barkley. Like, I I don't know, like, Anthony Davis is LeBron's teammate, but not exactly the most charismatic man on earth. They went very hard on Damian Lillard. Like, that was the guy they, like, went in on, because he has the Dame time, like, he's that guy. So, like, they went very hard on that, which just made me think that LeBron's like, man, we got to figure out a way to get him on the Lakers. Like, I don't like it was just I don't know. It was a very it's very bad.
Very bad.
I'm not even saying it's not worse than the original. I just want people to acknowledge the original also sucks for many of the same reasons. I guess that's all.
And I think the most baffling choice in this movie is to have all of the IP characters ringside, and not just like sitting ringside, standing ringside.
Oh, and they're
way
all like,
too close
I feel
to
like
ringside.
they're looping like movements of them.
Yeah, they're
like,
looping, and this is like cosplay level costuming.
Yeah.
And you know who's the one person who isn't ringside, who is normally ringside? Jack Nicholson. Like, they didn't.
Oh, Nicholson's
I didn't
not
see
gonna
Joe...
be like, I'm coming out of retirement to be in Space Jam.
I know, but like, I feel like they. But you got Batman Returns Penguin. Yeah, you got
Nicholson
Batman
Joker
Returns
is
Penguin.
in there actually somewhere. I saw him.
He is. I
he's
swear
not
I didn't see
courtside,
it.
You're right.
Okay, he should have been courtside.
You don't see his face, but I saw the hat and everything. Like, it looked like Nicholson.
Well, like, they should have had the moment with him, Ledger, Leto, Cesar Romero.
They should have just had him sitting next to Michael Wool or what's his name, Robert Wool as Bob. Because they go to Lakers games together anyway, because Robert Wool's only in Batman because he's friends with Jack Nicholson. So that if they had them sitting together, like, that would have been a good joke. Like, that's a good
great joke.
I thought, like, whatever. We need to stop because we need to talk about the book. All right.
We do need to talk about the book.
When we come back, we're talking Servants of the Empire #1, Edge of the Galaxy. Check out Postcards from the Edge. Don't watch Space Jam: A New Legacy or the original Space Jam because it also sucks. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Paratic.
Hello.
And this week, we're beginning a new series.
Mm-hmm.
Servants of the Empire by Jason Fry, and the first book, Edge of the Galaxy. And this is a 4-book series, so we'll be covering this for the next month. And it was a tie-in to Star Wars Rebels.
A season 1 episode. This is
season
where we
1
meet
episode.
the main character.
Indeed. However, this book came out a month before that episode aired, so...
nice.
That episode.
Well, this book takes place before.
Yeah, after that episode takes place, I believe, between maybe the first and second book or something like that. We'll confirm that before next week. So, it's books about this character Zer. Or was it Zer?
Mm-hmm.
You might remember there's an episode of Rebels where Ezra infiltrates the Imperial Academy on Lothal, the Stormtrooper program. Or I don't know if it's the Stormtrooper program specifically. I haven't seen the episode in a few years, but
I think they actually are they're doing some crazy training.
Yeah,
and like both of them end up getting like eyed for like the Inquisitor sort of thing.
Right. So and this guy eventually you find out that he's kind of trying to, find out stuff about the Empire from within,
because his sister is missing. His sister went into the academy and she disappeared. Which I don't think the series. I mean, I haven't finished Rebels, but I don't think the series ends that story.
The series never returns to that character. The show.
So this is the conclusion.
Appearance in one other episode, but I'm blanking.
Yeah, like I know Ezra asked him for a favor in an episode, but I think will conclude that storyline. So that's actually really cool that they did that. So,
but this first book all takes place before that, the year before that. His last year in high school, basically.
High school. See, I was thinking to myself that like we've seen a lot of the same stuff in the many books that we have read. We've seen a lot of beasties. We've seen not one but 2 types of mushroom people. We've seen 2 magicians show up. But we've never had what this book is, which is like a high school athletic drama in a way.
It's very much like. I mean, I guess Lost Stars has a little bit of this. Not the sports part, but the Lost Stars. The kind of
the Claudia Gray book.
Yeah, which we didn't cover on the show, but it's a Star Wars book. And, this book, it's a full school year, and, there's a made-up sport where they're flying and everything. It's very very Harry Potter thing.
Grav ball, which is mentioned
ball.
in Grav ball, which I'm pretty sure is a favorite sport of Zach Aranda mentions Grav ball.
You're right.
I think he's a Grav ball fan. Yeah,
Jason Fry bringing in the old canon.
And Grav ball also is very similar to football in the way that it's presented. It read very football to me.
It reads very football to me. So this is basically a year in the school life of this kid, who his sister has just started at the Imperial Academy. She's a year older than him.
Yeah, that's Mary, right?
Not Mary, no. Fuck, I don't have it in front of me.
Dara, I'm sorry.
Dara, yeah. And his family is all very they just moved to Lothal because they've been going around different planets. And Lothal has just joined the Empire, basically, is essentially the impression I get. Or Lothal, not joined, but Lothal is just, an Imperial presence has just started on Lothal. They've been buying up farmland and that kind of thing.
Yeah, his parents are what? They're they work for the agricultural corps or something like that. They are associated with the Empire, but not directly Imperial, but his father, their last name
true
is
believer.
He's a true believer in the Empire. Their last name is Leonis, and his father's name is Leonis. His father's name is Leo Leonis. So I thought that was
Leona Lewis. Can't stop bleeding. Stop bleeding, love. Continue.
And his mother's name is Tefa. So that's the family: Leo, Tefa, Zer, and Dara. Dara is the older sister, of course. And there's Auntie Nags, who is a nanny droid who has taken care of the Leonises for generations. They don't even know how old this droid is. She just gets passed down to each new family.
So basically, he's just moved there, so he's at a new school, which is what's the school called?
This school is called, oh boy, I didn't write that one down.
Well, it doesn't matter that much. But
I know AppSci is the abbreviation.
School or something like that. So he starts there, and he joins the Grav Ball team right away. And through the Grav Ball team, he meets a couple people. He meets... is she actually on the team, or is she just part of the coaching staff?
She's on the team.
Okay, because she doesn't. Yeah, Mary, I guess is how you'd say it.
Yeah, Merei, and she was
Mirai, maybe.
she's the kicker for the team. She's the field goal kicker.
See, I don't understand football, so I was confused by a lot of the play.
I do, unfortunately, because I played Pee Wee football and then I played it in junior high, which was a very bad experience for me.
I played soccer and then I played intramural basketball.
Yeah, a lot of bullying went on in middle school football. It was a very bad place to be. But anyway, so she's the kicker, and then
it's a culture of violence.
It is. It really is a culture of violence. And then Zer, our main character, he is the quarterback basically for the team. He is the center striker in Grav Ball. But he's basically the leader of the whole team. So there's really, I would say, there's 3 plot lines in this movie. You have the Grav Ball plot line, then you have the teammate Beck, who is kind of this big bruiser type. He is a farm boy, basically. His parents had a Jogan fruit farm that they sold to the Empire at a fair price. But he keeps going back to the farm, and he gets angrier every time. And then you have the plot line with the sister, which kind of shows up at the end.
Yeah, so basically, it covers the full school year. It's essentially this... The first half is especially a sports drama. It's basically Zer is a great I'll just call him a quarterback or a point guard because I don't feel like remembering all the fake positions.
Center striker.
I have enough fake sports in my head from various fantasy novels. So there's he winds up being really good. They have like an undefeated record through 4 or 5 games. They lose one game because of bad ref calls, and Beck gets really pissed off, and so this is when Zare meets the athletic director of the school, and this is one of those schools where the sports are really important. So the athletic director is maybe more even powerful than the principal or the headmaster or whatever. So it's like,
yep,
yeah. So he goes to meet. What's this guy's name? He has a weird name.
Furek. Furek. Fhurek.
Yeah.
Furek. And he makes all sorts of questionable decisions, and basically he becomes one of the villains of the book, because ultimately, basically what happens is they're going to the championships. They're going to states, guys.
Well,
they're getting to states.
This happened. Yeah. Let me just also back up a little bit, because the kicker, Miri Mariah or whatever her name is. There's like clearly sparks there between her and Zare. There's a whole thing where it's like he thought she was playing at first, but now like the way just describing little physical features, pretty good for this kind of book. It's not played too cornily or too like it's done fairly well, I think.
Well, the way they bond is like the fact that like she basically teaches him to like watch the other teams, like watch videos of the other teams and find their flaws. And right before the state's game, I actually like this moment where it's like she notices something and he looks at her. He's like, "I'm so happy I could kiss you," and then it says in the text, "And then he did."
Yeah, great, great writing. Basically, right. They get to the championship game.
Oh, wait. But we'll say, too, this is important. They don't call her this, but she is this. She's a slicer.
Oh, she is a slicer. She's like very computer savvy, a hacker, for those of you who don't know. Anyway, before they get to the championship, and this is when he realizes that this athletic director, Fuhr or whatever, is not on the up and up, because he says, well, because there's 2 players on the team, I don't have their names here, but they...
I don't either. One's an Oculus.
One's an Oculus, the other one's some other type of alien that I'm blanking on. Yeah. He said, well, I have no problem with them being on the team, but, like, some people, think that that's an unfair advantage, so we're going to have to... They're not going to be able to play in the championship game. And, and so, obviously, Zare is like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, Zare always stands up to this guy, too. So, like, basically, to try to prove a point before the championship game...
He makes sure those guys have incredible games.
They beat the school records, too, in terms of, like, number of scores
so that,
and
the
everything.
The entire school and the parents are like, these players are incredible. So it's like, if he's going to try to, like, get them out of the game, like, he's going to have to, like, face, like, the fact that they're, like, great players. But he still does. He like transfers them to another school right before the final game, so they're not eligible to play on the team anymore. And Zare wants to boycott the game, which is what he should have done, in my opinion. That is the correct thing. But then this book actually has like a fairly like interesting, complexity to it, where Miri or Mariah, or I don't know how to say her name. Mary. She says
there's something about Mary.
She says to Zare that it's like the rest of the team, they're not, because the rest of the team doesn't want to go along with it, and it's like you're going to be going to the Imperial Academy next year. These people are all going to be like working like dead end jobs. It's talking about the kind of the class differences, and it's like this is like a good thing for their they want this more than you. They want and need this more than you do. Basically, is what. Yeah. So it sucks. It's unfair, but like try to understand it from their point of view.
This will be their glory days, They'll be
glory days.
Pass you by, glory days.
Oh God, Bruce, my kid. So anyway, there's but then she also finds out that the guy, the athletic director is not only like a racist and a piece of shit, he's also betting on the games. So he bet that they would win by 8. So like basically, Zare's like, okay, I'll play in the game as long as I could. Like he's not going to beat the spread on this fucking bet. Like, so he so like they win by 6 and like. So he gets to give his teammates their like moment in the sun, but the Fuhrer is fucked basically. And by the way, this whole time, like him and his sister talk all the time, and she's off at the Imperial Academy and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's that. That's all going on in the background.
Nothing but good, decent things to say about the Academy, because the other storyline is with Beck and his family farm. He keeps going back, and every time he goes back, he becomes more and more angry because the farm is destroyed, and they are strip mining the planet, which is causing all sorts of problems for the other farmers. The water's gone bad. There's these dust storms that are causing issues, and basically this gives Zare the moment to kind of notice that maybe the Empire is not it's all cracked up to be. Maybe that there's bad people in the Empire.
And like also like Fuhrer, the athletic director, has ties to the Imperial Academy, so like he is like, oh, there's also a guy like this, and even Zare's mom is like, don't say this to your dad, but like, I think there's too many people like that athletic director. Like in the Empire, like she supports the mission of the Empire, the stated mission of peace or whatever. But like, there's too many like bullies in positions of power, is what she thinks.
Yeah, so. and also his sister comes home for at one point. She gets like a winter break or whatever, and he talks to her about how he's having all these conflicting feelings about joining the Academy because. He has to like submit his application like on his birthday, like his father basically like forces it, and she's like the Empire was born from like the Republic, which was ruled by like competition and greed and bureaucracy, so it's like some of these bad things got into it, and she's like, but change can only come from within. There are good people within the Empire, and like you have to be part of that change. That change can be good from the Empire,
and that's what's interesting, because obviously we get to this. If you've seen that Rebels episode, you know that he's eventually in the Academy and he's working from within, and that's how this book ends, and we'll get to that. But that's the core idea here, is that like this change is. I shouldn't say the change is only possible from within, but the change needs help from within, and like that's the thing I think that the best Star Wars kind of expanded universe stuff does, which is it doesn't just say like, oh well, actually the best. Because if you just say change can only come from within, that eventually leads to complacency. That leads to people being entrenched in a system that they benefit from and all that stuff. So I'm talking about in real life here. So, but it's undeniable that the most seismic change happens when you have people within the system that want things to change and pressure from outside the system to change that. So like you need both. Like I think that's the thing, because obviously the movies are very much focused on the outside pressure, the rebellion. But when you're that's what I find most interesting when people do stories about the Empire, is like if you can find a way where it's like this person feels legitimately like they're working from within the system to change it, as opposed to just kind of this like. Oftentimes, I think these kinds of stories will get to this place where it's like, well, like there's lots of good people in the Empire, and like, look, they're just a normal person and they're good. It's like, yeah, okay, but that's the whole banality of evil thing. Like you know what I mean? So it's like, unless they're actively doing something, even from their position, then they're still just benefiting from the power that being associated with the Empire grants them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Another story that does this kind of we mentioned this story earlier. Lost Stars is a great example of this too. So
well, that's the thing. Sienna in that book, who's the Imperial character, because it's a star-crossed lovers thing, Imperial rebel characters basically, and that book kind of she goes crazy in that book. Like that,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like that's not like that's not a rosy picture of like what a good person in the Empire is. Essentially, she goes in a good person and becomes a bad person, and she has to be like the epilogue of the book takes place a year later, and she's still like processing essentially the fact that she had like been a complicit part of this evil system for years. You know, it's a very like it treats it honestly. It's like, this doesn't condemn this person forever as like a terrible person forever, but like she did lots of bad stuff, and that did, at least for that part of her life, make her a bad person. And it's like willing to do that while you still give a shit about that character, which that's my frustration. Is like, you don't have to just be like, well, this person's good and they're in the Empire, like, so, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know. It's
Well, something, and this is completely unrelated, but you know, there's that protocol where it's like, if the ship is compromised, just take the ship down, which is like, because basically Lost Stars explains why there's a Star Destroyer on Jakku.
Oh yeah, that's
and she is the captain of this, and she is taking it down, which shows up in Mandalorian too. Whenever Man in Black gets those orders from Grand Moff Gideon to take the ship down, and he's like, of course, my lord.
Yeah, that book's great, by the way. They need to do a sequel. Like, they need to commission a sequel. I
agree.
Anyway, the movie. Back to this. Back to this, though. So the second half of the year, after the end of the season, he essentially gets because of what he did to the athletic director. He gets blackballed from whatever, I guess, the equivalent of basketball or whatever the winter sports is. So
track and field is one of them too.
Yeah,
I know that.
And so he can't participate, and like everybody's just like, yeah, this all sucks, but just keep your head down, get through this year, and you'll get into the academy, and you can make change from within. Is the whole thing. Like, and he's just like, yeah, okay, but like, and so his friend Beck is clearly becoming radicalized in a good way, not in a, you know, not in
right.
Towards the rebellion. He's sees more and more of his home planet being kind of just like strip mined and all this stuff, and so eventually, so this is the big thing. At a certain point, Zare is trying to get a hold of his sister Dara, and she's not answering him, and so that.
Well, this is also something, too. They don't finish this. This is presented. But, so he submits his application to the Academy, along with a letter of recommendation from his sister. Then he gets a letter of not recommendation from Ferrick, the athletic director. And Mary, she keeps hacking into the system, checking on his status. He gets accepted. Nobody else who has put in their application has been accepted yet. Zare's is the first to be accepted. And when his application becomes accepted, his sister becomes quote-unquote inactive. And this is where his sister goes missing. Imperial officers...
They wind up coming and telling the family that she ran away. So, which, you know...
Zare knows this is a lie.
Yeah.
His father begins to believe this. They start contacting like everybody they possibly know in Imperial ranks, and his father starts to believe this, but you can tell his mother is not quite buying the story. So he's trying to find her, and he then turns to Beck to try, we got to figure out how to find her. And then this leads, Beck eventually attacks troop transport sort of thing, and Zare sort of witnesses.
He wants to start essentially a local rebellion.
Right.
For Lothal.
Right. Zare, he takes part in this, but he's not caught in this sort of thing. The book ends with Zare. Well, Beck. He contacts Mary and Zare, and he's like, meet me on the Gravball Court. And he goes, yeah, they identified me. They're raiding my house now. It's only a matter of time before they find me. But he looks at Zare and he says, if you want to find your sister, you need to find her from within. And he's like, you don't mean I joined the Imperial Academy? He's like, that's exactly what I'm like telling you to do.
So he does. He reapplies and gets in, no problem. So it's like clearly somebody within the Academy is like, want to keep an eye on this guy. And so
Beck winds up getting arrested, all that stuff, and that's kind of where the book ends. It ends with kind of him about to enter the Imperial Academy. Beck is in custody, and
Mary, I guess she's going to another school.
Yeah, but this is all on Lothal. I imagine she'll continue to be a character in the books.
I think she will too.
So I had heard a lot of good things about this series just back when it was coming out, years ago, and I read it, and this is, I think, I'm gonna say something. I think this is the best non-Jude Watson book we've ever read for this show. How do you feel about that statement? At least it's part of a series anyway.
I can agree with you on that because, the whole Zare kind of questioning the morality of the Empire, and then his sister who's in the Imperial Academy. That whole scene right there, where she kind of, she's talking about change from within. This is a very firm understanding of the world of Star Wars sort of thing. Jason Fry does a very good job with this, so I agree with you, because, up until this point, the only thing that we, the series we really like is Adventures in Wild Space.
Which I do still like a lot, but yeah.
I do still like, but that's not the same caliber of novel, you know what I'm saying?
It is also I think it's for a slightly younger age.
Slightly younger, size 20 font, triple space, but this is 170 pages. This is only double spaced book, but this is, this is the level. This is the same type of novel that Jude would be writing, and this is done well. This is done really well. Yeah, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
I'm really excited about this series, actually. And I'm a big fan of Rebels. I like that show a lot, and this. I think Lothal is one of the more exciting planets that's been introduced in the last decade in Star Wars. It's a cool looking planet. I think anytime they go there, it actually, if you're reading a book and they're like, "Oh, we're going to Lothal," it actually gets you pretty excited, what happened in Adventures in Wild Space. And I think that's pretty rare, I think, for a lot of these new planets that have been introduced. It's one of the few times where I'm like, oh man, I'm excited they're going to a planet I know. And yeah, I'm going to rewatch that Rebels episode because I think it takes place between this one and the next one. It might be between 2 and 3. I think Ezra's in the next book, actually. So
okay, yeah, I know he shows up on one of the covers
over there.
Actually, no, it's Sally. She's outside right now, and I guess she got caught. She freed herself, but she is halfway out of her harness, and I hope Mel can hear me right now so that she can come out and rescue Sally.
Sally
is stirring in the trailer.
Is, their cat.
Is my cat. Yep. She's over there. She's halfway out of her harness, but she's I think she's settled though. I think she managed to free herself, but she's half pulled out of it. Wow. Mel to the rescue.
Oh, good.
So let's get into our midichlorians of this book because we got to wrap this up. We both got things to do today.
Okay, I want to give this somewhere to go. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be conservative here and go with 9. But I really, frankly, it's probably higher than that. I thought this was fantastic. I loved this book. I'm very excited for the next 3. And I just want to give it somewhere to go. That's the only reason I'm going low on it.
Yeah, I mean, you got somewhere to go. You got 10, and then you got conceived.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I
didn't want to go too low because I want people to realize that, I think this is one of the better books we've ever read for this show. And maybe, you know what? I'll even take the non-Jude thing out of it. It's a very good book. It's of that level. It's not. I don't have the same emotional attachment to it as of now, but it's on that level, I would say.
So, and I was gonna give it an 8, but I agree. It's 9. It's really good, and this story that still has places to go. And I like that, in Rebels, he says, "I'm looking for my sister. My sister came to the academy and she disappeared, and that's why I'm here. That is my whole motive." And the fact that that's not wrapped up in Rebels, and that's probably wrapped up in this book is what makes this so exciting, is that, like, we find his sister, and, like, the fact that, like, you know, the sister is introduced in this book, the fact that this book takes place before that episode of Rebels, and we get the whole backstory of his sister in this book is really great, and I think this is, we got potential for a really well-constructed series here, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Shouts to Jason Fry. We'll talk about, I guess, his career on the next one. We got time. So
yes, we do have time. And shouts to the cover artist. These are actually pretty good covers. John Paul Blamette is the cover artist. So shouts to John
right.
Paul.
I'll John.
But
John
hang on, before John and Paul with George and Paul. And my friend John.
Oh, look up that Ringo song, everybody. Okay.
Liverpool.
Liverpool 8. One of the goofiest songs ever.
Liverpool, I left you. You watching that Hulu series right now?
Our friend of the show, Sam McCauley, came over. We watched it one sitting. The McCartney 321. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're watching it in segments. We're doing it each night.
It's pretty fun.
It's pretty fun. We'll
talk about it off air.
We got to talk about next week's episode. Next week's episode is Rebel in the Ranks. All right.
I've been trying to think of something. Do you have an idea?
Okay, I have an idea, but it's not associated with that.
Okay.
In this book, they refer to something in Gravball as being a Smash Mouth play.
I'm not doing Smash Mouth content.
Oh, come on. We could do their self-titled album, their third self-titled album, Smash Mouth, which is the follow-up to their Smash album,
Astro Lounge. I can't... you want to do Mystery Men, where All Star was written for? How about that? What do you think about that idea?
I haven't watched Mystery Men in forever, actually. So
you want to do Mystery Men?
I would honestly rewatch Mystery Men.
Let's do that. Oh, you heard it here on the show, guys. Mystery Men next week.
Because if I remember in that book, there's not a rebel in the ranks, but maybe an insurgent. You know, there's a character who's not who it seems in that book. So
we'll talk about Mystery Men next week, and we'll talk about the second book in this series. But for now, have a good week, everybody.
Yep. Until the books are due back.
The library is closed. Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2021. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.